What if I told you that the greatest damage happening in many marriages is not in public, but in private? Not in the arguments people hear, not in the financial struggles people see, but in the silence of the marriage bed. What if the very place designed for unity has become a place of misunderstanding? What if frustration, pressure, comparison, and pride have quietly replaced passion? 7 mistakes, 7 common errors. And if left uncorrected, they don't just weaken intimacy, they weaken covenant. Tonight, we confront them. Because intimacy in marriage is too sacred to mishandle. Marriage is a covenant, not a contract. And the marriage bed is not just furniture in a room, it is an altar of unity. Culture treats it casually. Entertainment exaggerates it. Social media distorts it. But the kingdom dignifies it. The marriage bed is meant to be a sanctuary, a place of trust, voluntarity, joy and renewal. Yet many couples unknowingly turn it into a battlefield of expectations, ego, and emotional disconnection. Not because they are evil, not because they don't love each other, but because they were never taught. So tonight, we teach 7 mistakes couples make in the marriage bed, and more importantly, how to fix them. Here is the core principle. Intimacy thrives where understanding lives. When understanding dies, intimacy struggles. The marriage bed reflects the health of the relationship. It exposes communication gaps. It reveals emotional distance. It magnifies selfishness. It rewards unity. The problem is not intimacy itself. The problem is how it is approached. Let's walk through the 7 mistakes. Mistake number 1, making it about performance instead of connection. Many couples treat intimacy like an exam. Was it good enough? Was I impressive enough? Was it exciting enough? Performance pressure kills presence. When you are trying to impress, you are not truly connecting. The fix. Shift from performance to presence. Focus on closeness. Focus on emotional connection. Focus on serving one another rather than proving something. Intimacy is not a stage. It is a shared space. Mistake number 2, bringing unresolved conflict into the bed. Bitterness does not disappear because the lights go off. If you dishonor your spouse during the day, distance will show up at night. Unspoken resentment creates emotional walls. The fix? Resolve conflict quickly. Communicate openly. Apologize sincerely. Forgive intentionally. Intimacy cannot thrive in an atmosphere of hostility. Peace is foreplay. Mistake number 3, using intimacy as a weapon or reward. Some withhold it to punish. Some demand it to feel validated. When intimacy becomes leverage, love becomes transactional. The fix? Remove manipulation. Replace it with mutual generosity. You are not negotiating contracts. You are nurturing covenant. Mistake number 4, comparing your marriage to others. Comparison is poison. Comparing frequency, comparing excitement, comparing bodies, comparing experiences. You do not know what happens behind closed doors in another marriage. The fix? Develop your own rhythm, communicate your own needs, protect your own uniqueness. Comparison creates dissatisfaction where gratitude should live. Mistake number 5, ignoring emotional intimacy. Physical closeness without emotional safety feels mechanical. Many partners need to feel heard before they can feel open. The fix? Build connection outside the bedroom. Talk, laugh, affirm. Spend time together intentionally. Emotional intimacy fuels physical intimacy. Mistake number 6, lack of communication about needs. Silence breeds assumption, and assumption breeds disappointment. If you never talk about expectations, you will silently judge unmet ones. The fix? Have mature conversations without shame, without accusation, without defensiveness. Communication is not awkward, it is powerful. Mistake number 7. Neglecting effort after marriage. Many couples date intensely before marriage and relax completely after. Passion does not maintain itself. Romance requires intentionality. Affection requires attention. The fix: continue pursuing your spouse. Marriage is not the end of pursuit. It is the beginning of deeper pursuit. Consider a couple married for 10 years. At first, passion was natural. Over time, responsibilities increased. Children, careers, stress. Slowly, intimacy became scheduled, then strained, then sensitive. He felt rejected. She felt pressured. But the real issue was emotional disconnection and silent expectations. One honest conversation changed everything. Not overnight, but gradually. They began affirming each other again, listening again, dating again. And as emotional safety increased, physical closeness followed. Because intimacy is a fruit, not a forced outcome. Here is a kingdom truth. The marriage bed is a reflection of covenant alignment. When two hearts are aligned, bodies follow naturally. But when pride enters, distance grows. Intimacy exposes selfishness. It reveals whether you are there to give or to take. Marriage is the school of selflessness. And the bed is one of its greatest classrooms. If you approach it with ego, frustration increases. If you approach it with humility, unity deepens. Another revelation: desire must be cultivated. You water it with affection. You protect it with honor. You strengthen it with communication. You revive it with forgiveness. Neglect guarantees decline. Intentionality guarantees growth. Here is how you fix it practically. Have a safe conversation this week. Not to accuse, but to understand. Ask, how can I serve you better? What makes you feel closest to me? Is there anything we need to talk about honestly? Schedule time together, not just physical time, but emotional time. Rebuild friendship. Practice daily affirmation. Remove sarcasm. Remove criticism. Remove contempt. Guard your eyes from unhealthy comparison. And most importantly, choose humility over pride. Growth begins when blame ends. Your marriage deserves more than silent frustration. It deserves fire that is pure, not pressured. But silence is not protection. It is slow erosion. The enemy of your marriage is not your spouse. It is pride. It is assumption. It is neglect. Do not let small misunderstandings create large emotional gaps. You fought to get married. It was all you know. Strengthen it. Because when understanding increases, intimacy flourishes. And when intimacy flourishes, marriage becomes unshakable. Build it intentionally. Guard it fiercely. And remember this: unity in private produces strength in public. Now go and build your marriage right. All right, let's go deeper. Because this is not just about mistakes. This is about restoration. This is about reclaiming what was meant to be sacred. Lean in. Hook expanded fire. 7 mistakes couples make in the marriage bed. Not because they are wicked, not because they don't love each other, but because no one taught them the weight of what happens in that room. What if I told you that many marriages are slowly weakening, not because of infidelity, not because of finances, but because intimacy is become misunderstood? What if the tension you feel is not lack of attraction, but lack of alignment? What if the problem is not frequency, but foundation? The marriage bed was designed to be a sanctuary, but for many, it has become a silent battleground. And what is not corrected in private will eventually affect you in public. Let me speak as a teacher tonight. The marriage bed is not just about bodies touching. It is about trust exchanging. It is about vulnerability unfolding. It is about covenant being renewed. Every time a husband and wife come together, they are saying without words, I choose you again. I trust you again. I belong to you again. Because many couples are not suffering from lack of love, they are suffering from lack of understanding. You can love someone deeply and still hurt them intimately. You can pray together powerfully and still disconnect in the bedroom. You can serve in church faithfully and still silently struggle at night. Why? Because intimacy is not sustained by emotion. It is sustained by knowledge, communication, maturity, and intentionality. Let us go deeper. Another mistake couples make in the marriage bed is turning intimacy into a performance instead of a partnership. Performance says, did I do well? Partnership says, did we connect? Performance creates pressure. Partnership creates peace. Some husbands are under silent pressure to prove themselves. Some wives are under silent pressure to respond a certain way. And when intimacy becomes a test you must pass, joy disappears. Marriage is not a stage. It is a covenant. And covenant intimacy is not about applause. It is about alignment. Listen carefully. Intimacy in marriage is not about copying what the world advertises. It is about discovering what works for your covenant. The world teaches technique. The kingdom teaches oneness. The world teaches fantasy. The kingdom teaches faithfulness. The world teaches self-satisfaction. The kingdom teaches mutual fulfillment. Another mistake is assuming your spouse automatically knows what you need. Silence is not spiritual maturity. Silence is sometimes immaturity, disguised as endurance.